But you don't.
Okay, get started.
You felt like really get sick or something.
I appreciate your passion for the text. Okay. So we're gonna finish Esther today. Number one or number three, guys, we're starting. Okay, so we did what did we do? Tell me what were the first things we did? We did the beauty treatments, we did the Vashti. Now we do the making of a queen. So this is the moment where she transitions. And then we have the seduction of Achashverosh, which this is where we will see Esther as prophetess or as wise woman. This is where we're going to see her skill, her technique in bringing this man, turning this man, right, in the direction that she needs. Okay, so this is, so I'm gonna kind of go now in the section of the making of a queen. I'm gonna talk in terms of both male and female. This is really about individuation as a human being in general. And this is where Esther is the most masculine. She steps really into a very powerful masculine mode. So it works for both women and men. In this context, it's really a story of how do we individuate? How do we reach our full potential? This is really what's happening to Esther, right? She's in this passage, this middle passage where she confronts the king, sorry. She's moving from concubine to queen. That's the transition. She enters the throne room as a concubine, whom the king did not see for the last 30 days, right? That's the status of a concubine. He's coming once in a while, right? Whenever who is he with the other days, right? The other nights. Don't think he's alone by himself, right? So she's kind of one of many. She enters the throne room, she leaves the throne room, and she is a queen, right? So something happened that moved her from concubine to queen. And the same can happen for men, right? Something happens that moves you from, I don't know what, prince to king, right? So there is a shift that occurs, very powerful shift that occurs in her personality. And we're going to look at the mechanism of that so we can understand for ourselves, how do we make the shift, right? So first of all, we realize she did not become her true self until crisis struck, right? And so this is first thing we can begin to realize is that the moments of crisis in our lives are opportunities for individuation. They're not there to crush us. They're there to resurrect us. They're there to push us out of the womb, right? Before the crisis, we're like infants in a womb. Is the crisis that births us, right? So the idea is to see the crisis as an opportunity for individuation rather than, oh, poor me, I'm a victim, this and that, you know, and so forth. So we're going to see how she deals with the crisis. This is very important because the way we deal with our crisis is what will determine whether we come out stronger or weaker. Because it's true, a lot of us can come out weaker out of our crises, right? We can come out feeling like a victim and feeling persecuted and feeling like a hater and so forth, right? And so there is a way of navigating the crisis which can bring you into the stronger version of yourself, right? That's what we're going to learn here from Esther. First thing that we see with Esther is that she's at a point, and this is a great point, where the only way is forward. Can't go back. This is great. These opportunities are amazing. Anytime you're in a situation with no exit, you have to fix the situation. The problem with our civilization is there's exits everywhere, right? We can dump anything at any time. And when we live like this, where we're always finding an exit out of the difficulty, we never grow. We never become who we were meant. We never become queens and kings. We stay concubines. And what's the word for men? Concubines. What's the
Paramore?
What's that? No, what?
Male concubine.
Oh, really? Paramore. Okay, you guys know this word?
Yeah, you had that word available.
Yeah. Now it has better connotations.
All right, is there a better word? Like
Look at it.
paramour. Okay, all right, fine, whatever. So you see my point, right? So this is the first thing we see here. She's in a no exit situation. She cannot exit. She's trying to, and Mordechai is like, don't think you will escape. You're stuck here. Being stuck is one of the biggest blessings in our lives. Let's just accept that, because most of us are like, I'm stuck. Ah, poor me. No, being stuck is when you, yes, you're finding the definition. Being stuck is when you have to become creative to get out of the situation. You can't escape. And as you work to become creative, that's when you individuate, right? So this is why I love no exit situations, like, I don't know, anytime where you can't leave, right? Whether it's a marriage or you're a parent or you're taking care of your own parents or you're stuck in a situation, is an absolute opportunity for individuation, right? And so this is where she is. There is no exit for her, and that is why she makes it to the next level of her life. And so we need, first lesson we get here to be existential is, let us not try to exit difficult situations. Let the first thing we do not be looking for an exit. Let's embrace being stuck, because that is when we have to change and transform and grow, right? So that's the first thing. Second thing I'm seeing here, which is similar to Inanna, we have a moment that is very similar, is the 3 days that she fasts, right? The 3 is very important in the ancient Near East. I don't know if you had the curiosity to read a little further in the Inanna text to where she goes down into the land of the dead. Anybody read that passage? So there's one story that we didn't do, but so Inanna, when she's already married to Dumutsi, she's already, very, very famous goddess. She's older. She decides, I'm going to conquer the underworld, right? So she goes down to the underworld where I think it's her sister who's ruling there, and her loathsome and hateful sister. And her sister, when she hears that Inanna trying to conquer her realm, gets really pissed and makes sure that Inanna doesn't make it out alive. She kills her, and Inanna stays there 3 days and 3 nights until she's rescued by some of her servants of the overworld, right? So, but when she comes out, I would invite you to go read. Oh, you don't have it. I'm the one. Did you get that book? No, I'm the only one who has the book. I gave you PDF, so I didn't never give you that story. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's right.
No, it's in the PDF.
It's in the PDF. Oh, great. Okay, so we're good. So when she emerges, she's a different person. Does anybody remember what's the first thing she does when who's the person she goes out to meet when she emerges? She meets several people. She meets her sons, she meets her servants, and then she meets Dumutsi. And Dumutsi is pictured sitting high on a throne, doesn't give a damn what happened to her, didn't send rescuers, didn't even notice she was gone, right? And it's very interesting. She gets incredibly enraged at his neglect. Yeah. And she casts him down back into the underworld. And he's like, you will now go and die for me, because yeah. So and then his sister pops up and saves him, and then it's 6 months his sister, 6 months him. But in any case, she emerges a much stronger woman, able to confront Dumutsi and really cast him down in a way, right? So so we have something very similar here with Esther. She goes into the underworld for 3 days. Remember, the prayer and fasting are Jewish symbols, and in ancient Near Eastern symbols of death. What do you do? What do you put on your head when you're fasting and praying? And that, anybody? And also ashes. What do the ashes represent? Death, right? The dust that right? Yes.
In the Hellenistic version, she also put down.
Okay, even worse. Okay. So she's really contrite, right? So bring it on. So, but definitely, so we don't have, we would not, in a Jewish context, this would not happen. It's not kosher. But definitely the dust and the ashes and the sackcloth is a symbol of death, right? So she's dying. And as she enters this moment of her death, that is the only path to her resurrection. The lesson here is, let us enter the moments of our deaths. Let us not resist the moments where everything is shattered and everything dies. Our heart dies, our body dies. We are just, and I'm not saying literal death, but I'm saying, right, when we go through these times where we lose everything, as we move into this moment of death, is the only way we can resurrect as the highest version of ourselves, right? And we also trying to find exits, right? Trying to avoid these. Like her, she's desperately, remember, she's a survivor. She knows how to escape and go through right? And find ways to escape. She's stuck there. She has to do this, right? So we have this, right, this moment of her decreation, which is the precursor to her resurrection. And then we have something very interesting, this quote which you mentioned, if I perish, I perish. This is, I think, this is by far the most beautiful verse of the biblical text, I think. If I perish, I perish. There's so much there, right? This is a person who is going all in. And this is another important step, which we have not yet mastered in our civilization. None of us go all in. We check, the temperature of the water. We never commit to anything. We don't commit to jobs. We don't commit to people. We don't commit even to our own kids. We don't commit to anything anymore because we always think there's a way out, right? And what we're seeing here is a woman who is investing all of herself. And the verb there, remember, I don't have the Bible because I'm messed up today, but the verb there is the karav, remember, which is the same root as korban. I mentioned this last time. No chalk, obviously, of course. Today it's like this. I created this reality. Okay, so so karav, Qarav, is the verb that is used here to talk about, and you can check, thank you, Epstein, is to use to describe her approaching the king. They could have used any word, but they picked one from the Levitical context. This is in clear intent of the author to show the sacrificial nature of her actions. And of course, karav is connected to korban, which is sacrifice, right? Karav means to come close. Korban, Qorban, is the word for sacrifice. It is built from the root karav. They are semantically connected. Sacrifice and proximity are semantically connected in the biblical text, in the Hebrew, meaning that no intimacy without sacrifice, right? So that's kind of the way I read it. So she's doing this, she's taking this sacrificial step. How many of us are so scared to invest everything? We want to make sure it's going to work out. Like, how many of us you hesitate to get in a relationship until you know for sure it's going to work out? Anybody? Okay, great. Yes. Or a job. You want to know for sure it's the right fit for you. Or a school, right? You're not moving until, right? Esther is showing us, you can never know, right? You can never know. The success doesn't depend on whether the conditions are right. The success depends on your investment. I want to really repeat that because that's so important. The success is not whether the person is the right person or the job is the right person. The success that you will have in that relationship or that job is how deeply invested you are in it, how completely invested you are in it. That is what will make the difference between success and failure. Yeah.
So like I also feel like in Esther's case, like she doesn't have a choice but to like go all in, because if she doesn't, then she loses. So, like,
Exactly.
but in our case, we have choices. So,
Yeah.
like, we're able to say no, I don't want to go all in because maybe I have a different route.
That's fine too. You must make wise choices, but once you're in it,
Yeah.
full investment, right? Don't be like, most of us were in relationships, eternal on the fence. Maybe it's gonna work, maybe not. We'll see where it goes, whatever you come up with, right? Nothing's gonna work out if you're like, we'll see where it goes, right? Once you make the decision, full investment, that is what will determine the success, not whether, oh damn, it's not the right person. It's never the right person. Let's be clear. It's never. There's no right person, right? So there's no right job either. Once you're in it, the success, the way that it will grow is if you're fully invested. This is something we have lost the capacity for, to be fully invested. We're always, evaluating the risks, looking whether it's going to work out before even making a decision, which is, of course, we have to do that. But there's a moment of where full investment is the only way that will determine, it's the only way left you have, right? You're with the wrong person in the wrong job, right? And you're stuck. Now what? Full investment. That will actually shift things around. This is what Esther is teaching us, is that paradoxically, it is in totally giving up yourself that you can cause transformation in any situation you're in. There are no wrong situations. There are no wrong jobs or wrong people. There are wrong ways of navigating those. And transformation is always possible, but transformation goes with full investment. Unless you enter the state of sacrifice, no transformation. If you want things to change, that's the price, right? I'll just break it down. You're in a relationship, it sucks, you made a mistake. Okay, are you there with me? Yes? Okay. You did make a commitment, so now you're stuck in that commitment. What we're learning, instead of constantly evaluating how you can get out of it, right? And therefore not creating change, the Esther is teaching us, go all in, and only then will there be true transformation. Love that person, do that job to the best of your ability, and things will begin to transform, right? And sometimes even things will begin to move forward, maybe not even, right? We don't know, right? But any change necessitates this full, complete investment, which we have lost the capacity. And at the end of that, right? At the end of this whole process, right? Let me summarize. There's no exit. She moves into the moment of her death. She's fully invested. Only then does she emerge with her royal robes, right? She puts on her royal robes. You can see that she is in the process of transformation, right? Okay, any questions on that movement? Anything you want to add before we go into the seduction of Ahashbor? Yes, go
That perspective seems entirely black and white.
ahead. Go on.
If you're gonna say that there's only such things as not giving full effort, it's a wonderful idea, and I don't think it's not true, but I don't think it applies to everything. There are such things as making a bad choice, getting into a relationship you shouldn't be in, and no, you shouldn't give your effort into that. You should pull yourself out so you can give your full effort into something that will.
Okay. No,
But if you're going to break up,
fair
with
enough.
them, do it properly. Put your full effort into breaking up with somebody. No, I'm serious. Don't be that guy. who,
No,
you
that's
know,
a good
ghosts
point.
somebody
That's a good point.
or does it through text. Sit down, talk with the person with the respect that they deserve. Do fully carry it out.
On their birthday.
And then
On their birthday. There we go.
and then really break up. Don't be
Yeah,
like, let's
exactly.
call, let's remain friends, blah blah blah, right? That's what I would add to what you're saying.
You're in a bad job, right?
Yeah.
You owe it to yourself to put the full commitment into your life and get a better job. Because you being miserable all the time because you're in a bad job, even if you're giving. My grandfather had a saying, I have twice the loyalty to the company that the company has to me. Which is
That's
the
good.
ideal
Yeah.
of that. Yes, you can put your full commitment into a company. And unless it's your own company, they're not going to reciprocate it. It's not going to happen. Now, there's a certain amount which you're willing to put up with. And then if they're not going to reciprocate it, then it's up to you to take your full commitment somewhere else.
So I agree with you because I'm also part of this civilization, but here's the risk. The risk is anytime it's not good, you'd be like, okay, let me take my full commitment somewhere else. But then you end up always taking it somewhere else and never really giving it. You see the danger of that? I agree with you 100%. I'm the first person to run out the door. So I will creatively find a way out, right? But then I'm thinking, sometimes it seems to me, right? This is just me being confronted by the text because I'm the first one to run away. Very good at it. It seems to me that there's something to be said, even in a bad situation, to see what would happen if I invested fully, right? I mean, sometimes you're not stuck. If you're just dating, you should, right? Dating is there to see whether or not, right? But if you're married, it's another story with kids, right? Now what? Right? This is when, right? This is once you've invested yourself, perhaps, right? Once, of course, when you're dating, you have to be smart and be like, okay, this is not working, moving on, this is not working, because you're not yet supposed to invest yourself in the date. No, you're not supposed to fully invest yourself. You're supposed to get to know the person, right? And don't look so sad. What did I say? Okay, so in the dating, of course, you want to be careful and wise, but once you've invested, right? Once you're stuck, now what? And the challenge that Esther gives us is what happens when we invest ourselves? What can emerge? That's what I'm seeing there. Something emerges out of that investment. And so what I'm learning here, against my will, because I'm an Aquarius, I want to be super clear. I float. And I float out super quickly. Window always open. I don't know if you noticed. Someone closed it, right? So that's the thing, right? Once you're in a situation with no exit, I wonder what would happen if we stuck it out, right? It's a challenge. It's an invitation. Of course, there are moments you got to be smart, but there are moments you got to stay. And where staying can be actually very productive. Are you following me? Of course, you have to, there's a time to leave and a time to stay, right? If you decide to stay, there can be something powerful can happen, right? And this is where Esther is, right? Anyways, she has no choice. And there will come times in life where you will be really stuck. It will be difficult to leave because maybe it's the only job you have right now. Maybe it's the only family you have. Maybe maybe it's the only parents you have, right? Sometimes we want to dump our family too. And maybe it's the kid is crazy, but it's your kid, right? Now what? Full investment, right? That's what can be transformative. That's what Esther is teaching us. And of course, we have to be smart to a certain degree, but we can't make it like a mode of operation. That's the idea, because then we miss the other side. You see what I'm saying? Then we miss what could have happened if I had stayed. That's always the idea, I think, that I would emphasize. Any other questions before we go into the seduction of Achashverosh? Yes?
You also have to know who you are
Mm.
in a very deep way.
But wait, because she becomes who she is by investing.
She's on that road, on that path, but she hasn't yet been mature enough, challenged enough to know who she is and what she can do.
Exactly.
And she's still this young.
You see, she's very fidgety. Yeah.
Has very good experience.
Exactly.
Her age, no, but she's young.
You can see the way she is.
She's young.
Yeah. She's fickle. She's just, not knowing where to go. Mm.
She's sheltered.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
sheltered before she comes.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she's sheltered in her parents.
That's a good point. I like that.
I mean, she finds a way of being very pleasant, so she gets protection.
Exactly.
But she hasn't had enough growth yet.
Exactly. She's been a good girl all her life, and now it's time to become a little more badass. That's the idea, right? We need both. Can't be just good girl or just badass. You need both. She has to combine them, right? So I like that, because it's and by the way, we become ourselves sometimes through the decision to invest ourselves. If you're incapable in investing yourself, you're never going to be anyone. That's the idea, right? That's kind of what we're learning here. Okay, let's go into the seduction of Achashverosh, where I think this is where she shines and deserves the title of prophetess, right? That is given to her by the Talmud. Remember, there are 7 women prophetesses, right? And Esther is one of them. Why? We're going to find out now. Okay, so I've always been intrigued by the whole technique of it, like the way she moves this man's heart, right? I mean, I want to know, right? I am always interested. How can I move somebody or win someone's favor, right? And move their heart in the direction of my desires, right? So she's quite masterful, and we're going to learn a few things about, I think, gender, women, man relationship, but I think you can apply it more broadly, of course. So let's look at the breakdown of what she's doing. So first thing she does, why doesn't she talk to him right away? She invites him to a banquet, and I've always wondered why she invites him to a banquet. What is she doing? Yes.
She's like letting his guard down a little bit.
Okay, very good.
Like in a sense, if you want to make somebody more open to hearing you out, you have to put them in an environment where they're comfortable.
Exactly, right? This is for any situation, a spouse, a child, a boss, right? Anytime I've confronted someone and it's worked and they've changed, was always, I invite you to eat, we have a good time, and now we talk, now that we're quiet, right? So this is kind of foreplay, emotional foreplay. She's trying to open his heart, right? So she creates an atmosphere of joy. This is actually very important. Now, just to go into the gendered relationship, we have only 2 women today, me included. I mean, me excluded. Anytime you want to confront a man, just talking to you both, anytime you want to confront a man, it never works, and you guys can confirm, it never works to come with a critical attitude. You don't do this, you don't do that, I don't get enough of this, I'm sick of that, right? Is this working? Are you willing to change? Are you like, yes, darling, of course I'm going to do what you want me? Is that what this is doing to you? No, it's doing the opposite. Like, I am not your, right, your pet, right? You're making the man like a pet or a child, right? So what is Esther doing here, right? She's in a way, it's absolutely joyful, grateful, right? I love this, I love that, I'm happy here. Now here's what I desire, right? It's a totally, if you come to a man critically, he's never gonna respond. But if you come to a man with joy and gratefulness and be like, okay, I appreciate all this, I love this, but here I would love this more, right? The heart is open, he's listening. Remember, we have learned how to speak as women. We have found our voice through feminism, but we have not found a way to communicate in a way that people can listen to us. This is the problem with feminism. It's loud women, yelling insults. And who's going to listen to that, right? So I appreciate feminism for giving me a voice, but now my voice is raspy and loud and nobody's listening to me. What's the point? You then have to soften the voice. It's good to have a voice. Thank you, feminism. But now, can you use the voice in a way that the man can hear you? Right? That's the idea which feminism has missed completely. It's just out there yelling slogans, right? So we need to learn now to modulate the voice that we have been given by feminism in order that the man can be open and listen, right? It's not enough to have a voice. You have to also speak in a way that people can understand, right? So that's the idea. She knows this. She masters this instinctively. She's amazing. She's a genius. She's a genius, absolute genius. Yeah. Okay. Second thing I'm seeing. So let's read a little deeply into this. She invites the king and Haman. I was always intrigued about this. Now let's read symbolically, right? Let's imagine. Try to read just not just the story, but what is her strategy? What does Haman represent? And why does she invite them both? And how should we then use that technique when dealing with a difficult person? This is all about dealing with a difficult person, right? What's the technique here? She invites the king and Haman. What does this symbolize? Yes.
It's pure flattery to Haman.
Okay, so you're still with Haman. Think about just.
She's creating flattery when she's saying, she's putting him on the same level as the king to say, you are our invited guest.
Yes,
to
yes.
dine with the king and the queen.
That's good.
And it's a very flattering thing.
What is she going to
as
achieve?
It makes him think highly of himself.
Oh, and then he falls even
And
fall harder.
He's not very, he doesn't suspect anything.
Ah, very good,
He
very good.
she does this in a way to manipulate him.
Yes, yes, yes.
To be compliant.
Okay,
And he
good,
doesn't
good.
suspect her, because now he's being told, I'm done. What could be better than dining with the king and queen, and there's nobody else, it's just us.
Very good.
And
So
the servants
she's
to bring the food, whatever the wine.
she's in a way creating a diversion, so he doesn't see. Yeah,
He also thinks is a very open and calm and comforting and lovely atmosphere for him,
yeah, yeah.
although that's not her true potential.
Exactly. Very good. Okay, that's one way. Good. You want to add, and then you.
Yeah,
Yes.
like also kind of the way I saw it is that if Esther just invites the king, just like on his own, then she's kind of like putting him on her, like she's kind of putting herself on his level, because it's just them two in one room talking. So she's kind of putting herself up to the king's level. But if she's inviting the king and his boy, like in a sense, it's kind of like she's like showing, I guess, like she's kind of respecting the authority, because she's inviting all like the two main authority figures.
Good,
So
good.
she's kind of humbling herself instead of elevating herself, which is
You understand the psychology very well because you're from there. You understand. You have a very good grasp on what's going on. There's definitely an intention to be humble, right? She also says, if I have found favor, right? So this is very oriental, right? If I have found favor. It's all like, you know exactly what you're doing, but you're like also Jacob, right? When he meets Esau, he bows 7 times. What is he doing? Right? He's supposed to be the heir, right? But there's a way to appease, right? This is art. Yes. Oh, sorry, Epstein, and then go ahead.
She's creating competition.
Oh, interesting. Okay, go on.
Why is she inviting Haman? We know her ultimate goal is
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
But if you're the king, why is she inviting your advisor?
That is annoying. You're right. Is she making the king a little bit annoyed? Tension, a little bit of tension?
She's creating tension on purpose, but it also creates the thrill of competition.
Oh, very nice. Okay. It's had to be a guy to notice this. Yes, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say more it's the trapping part of it, where it forces the king to be confrontational after hearing the news because she invited all the factors to the table. Like,
yes.
Haman is here, the guy who's causing the issue is directly in front of you. I just told you he's out to kill me and my people. What are you going to do about it?
Very good,
And
very
so
good.
it forces him to make a decision
Immediately.
immediately, as opposed
Nice.
to having to deliberate on it.
Yes, and then forget about it like he usually does. Yeah, very good, very good. Okay, now I want you to look at it a little bit differently. I want you to merge the two. In other words, what if, like, so, hear me out. When you confront somebody, right? Everybody is both the king and Haman. Do you follow what I'm saying? Every human being has a good side and a demonic side. And when you're talking to that person, and you will see how she talks, right? But the problem with us, why we don't talk to people who are difficult, is because we reduce them to their demonic side, to Haman. She's capable of seeing both. She sees, here's a king who is, my husband, but at the same time, here is Haman. That is also part of him, right? And so this is the ability to say, I welcome you both. I love the good in you and I love the bad in you. I receive the darkness and the light. You're both welcome. I'm not going to, right? This is a very profound action because very often we reject people and we reduce them to the demonic, right? What Esther is masterfully doing is she's remaining lucid that a person is always both. A person is always both a king and what's Haman? Yeah, but like in the bad, like what's the bad
Tyrant.
word? What? Tyrant, sure. She knows there's the king and there's the tyrant, right? In the same person. So she brings them both. So this is very important because at least when I was dealing with difficult people, I would never talk to them because they're pure demon. Why should I talk to them, right? But recognizing that they're both king and at the same time demon, right? Is in a way embracing both and addressing both. Now watch what she does. We're going to see that in a second, right? What she does, how she manipulates the two sides, right? But definitely this idea of I embrace all of you. The ability in a difficult relationship to say, I embrace all of you. I see the bad, but I also see the good. Or I see the good, but I also embrace and welcome the bad, right? You're all of you. I accept you, right? This is usually in the third year of marriage when you start to see the flaws and okay. And it's like the ability to say, I also love your flaws, right? I also love your weakness. I also love that dark side of you. Being able to do that is extremely powerful for that person, right? Because too often we just love the good and we hate the bad. And the biggest thing, the most important thing a human being needs is to be loved in both the good and the bad. Can you love their flaws as well as their qualities? Because what we truly need as human beings is to be loved in our flaws. Can you understand my flaws? Can you, be playful about my flaws or smile about my flaws? Or am I always disgusting to you when I do that? You see what I mean? The ability to be able to, I love all of you, including your weakness and your flaws. I welcome it. This is incredibly transformative when you begin to be able to do that, especially when you're stuck with them. So, third thing, 2 banquets. Why 2 banquets? That always also intrigued me. What's she doing? Why 2 banquets? This is very hard. For me personally, I wouldn't even have done a banquet. We'd had coffee immediately after the meeting. So she's doing 1 banquet, 2 banquet. What is she doing? Yes, is that a hand? Okay. Okay.
She's building mystery.
Oh, okay,
I
okay,
think
good.
It's Scheherazade, right?
Mhm.
You have to come back the next night to figure out what the end of the story.
I like that. I like that. Scheherazade. Yes, very nice. She's creating interest because before he might have just ignored her when she invites him and asks the first time. So she creates the tension so that he's really listening, right? Now he really wants to know. Nice, nice. Anybody else wants to? Yeah.
She knows that.
Okay, so let's
So she knows, like, he
let's loosen him up.
wants to up to this kind of stuff.
Okay.
He loves to hold these things.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So now he's gonna have an opportunity 2 nights in a row. It's gonna be fun.
Very good. So
Um,
she's really like softening him, right? Trying to really get, yes.
Yeah, like I agree. I think it's also just like increasing the comfort of the situation. Like the first time, maybe there's some awkward like tension. Maybe the 3 of them have never been in a room together
It's
before.
true, yeah.
So the first time you just feel it out, and the second time then you can
Okay.
drop your bombs.
Yes, so notice she's waiting for the right moment.
Right.
Very often we know exactly what to say. I sin like this all day long. We know exactly what to say and we say it when we want to say it. The other person is not ready, not available, not listening. Again, right? It's not enough to have a voice. You have to modulate the voice so you can be heard. You have to know when to speak. And she's very sensitive to that. Is he ready at the first banquet? Not really. Maybe he got too drunk or something very quickly because he's awkward, right? So now she's like, okay, let's wait till it's the right time. Let's do a second banquet, see if he's less drunk and so forth. So also waiting, she's extremely, very crafty here when she waits for the right moment, right? Yes, go ahead.
It also builds the tension of the story.
Also that too, yes. Storyteller is great, yes. Oh, I like that. I like that. Oh, nice, nice.
So in the first two banquets, it's the king and Vashti.
Yeah.
At the end, Vashti's expelled.
Hmm.
The other these two.
Haman.
Yeah.
Nicely done, nicely done. I like that. Good interpretation. That's the spirit. Yeah, very good. Nice. Very good. I'm putting it here. Parallel between two banquets. Okay, now let's look at the last one where she makes use of her wisdom. No, and I think this is the most powerful. If you can master this, you will win anybody over. And I've applied this and it has worked. I've actually done this. So watch what she says. She turns when she begins to speak, finally. I'll read it briefly. I don't have it. Who has it? Somebody read it. When she begins to speak, 7:3-6. Chapter 7:3-6. So notice what she does, who she's speaking to, and how. That's important.
Can Esther answer?
Yeah.
If I your favor, my king, she said, and if it so please the king, let me have my life as my desire, my people as my request. For we have been sold, my people and I, to be killed and destroyed and annihilated. Had we but been sold as slaves and bondwomen, I would have kept my silence, for that anguish is not worth any loss to the king. King Ahasuerus spoke. He said to Esther the queen, who is it, which one who put it into his heart to do such a thing? It is
We're good. Okay, good. We know what's coming. So, all right, notice how she's speaking to the king. What is she asking him to do, and what does that make him? She's, in a way, creating a personality. She's individuating the king right now with her words. She's speaking identity into the king. What identity is she giving him through her words? Remember, that's the wise woman. She's the one who speaks identity into the person, like Abigail and David. She's speaking identity into him. Yes.
She turns him into a king, but more
Exactly.
like a godly type king, I guess.
Exactly. You are my protector. Instead of saying to him what any woman would have said, you are my enemy, right? How could you do this to my people and myself, you fool, right? This is what normal woman would have said. But no, she says something else. She says, you are my protector. Help me, protect me. She, in a way, her words are, she's casting the king. She's in a way speaking identity into the king. She is revealing who the king truly is. The king is not my enemy. The king is my protector. And she's appealing to that king, not the other one who's a fool and an idiot, who is influenceable and violent and cruel and barbaric. He's also that. She's not saying any of that. She's saying, you are this. I see this in you. I speak it and I desire it of you. Yes.
Just a quick tangent. So you were saying how the king, the half of him is foolish. He keeps saying, he says it like twice, like I will give you up to half of my kingdom.
Yes.
That is
Yes.
parallels with Mark. I
Oh,
think.
okay.
In Herod Antipas
Mhm.
with Salome.
Oh, yes, Salome. Yes. I will give you half the kingdom also.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Okay, yes, so we see the parallel with Herod, although I'm sure the author of Esther, no clue, but certainly the author of Herod, right, is making the parallel. I like that. Yes.
Giving like godlike powers,
Yes.
life and death.
Very good. So you see what now, you see the success, you see what does the king do immediately after that? Is he like, you know, foolish woman? No, what does he do immediately after she has spoken identity into him and spoken to that side of the king? What happens immediately after that? And we see a king we don't know before, by the way. How does he emerge?
He gets very protective over her. Like when Haman bows down at her feet, he interprets it as an act of aggression. He kills him immediately.
Exactly. This king who was, partying, doing rash decisions, going all over the place, all of a sudden, high focus, protection, right? Guardian of this woman, protector. And all of a sudden, he becomes exactly what she has spoken into him. She has drawn it out of him. This is wisdom. The ability to draw, to first of all, see, speak, and draw out of a person their true self, which is always good, right? And she's able, I mean, this is masterful. She's able to see in this barbaric king the nobility that was always there, because we see how he acts now, right? We see, and already we had a little bit of sympathy through Michal, who saw, he's a very diverse king. He's open to the other, right? There were a few good things, right? He has a big, he loves life. He misses Vashti. That's the part I like about he misses Vashti. That's my favorite part. You can see he has a heart, right? He's not just a barbarian. And she's able to draw much more than that, right? Through her words. This is the key. This works, by the way. I've had a confrontation, the one confrontation where I was calm, the only one that actually made a difference. I was confronting a person who had hurt me a lot, several times. And first thing, so I knew Esther, and I thought, let me try this. I said, hey, I want to invite you out to eat. Let's go out to eat. I want to talk a little bit, but let's go out to eat. Okay, happy, they come. We're sitting, we eat, same thing as Esther. And then, so this person had the habit of yelling at me. It was always, I hate that. I hate when people yell at me. She would yell at me all the time. And I hate it. So, but I knew, so anyways, I'm sitting with a person and I'm like, okay, I know you would never want to hurt me. That's how I began the thing. I did the whole Esther stunt. I played by all the rules of Esther. I started out by saying, I know you would never want to hurt me. I know you love me. I know that you respect me. So first of all, I appeal to the good. I only see the good. And then I say, but I would love, right? The yelling, it's not that I know you don't intend to hurt me with the yelling, but the yelling ends up hurting me because of my sensibility, whatever. I blame myself. I have, for me, it's difficult to be yelled at. I can't handle it psychologically. And the person kept on saying, but I don't mean it. I don't mean it. It doesn't mean anything. Right. And I'm like, of course not. You would never want to hurt me. You love me, right? Keep on repeating that, affirming the identity. But it hurts me. That man never yelled at me again, ever. Ever. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. He understood. I had to say it a few times, right? Because he kept on pushing back and being like, well, I don't mean, I don't mean anything by it. That's my culture. We all yell, it's how I am. That's how you have you heard this one? It's my culture. I'm not going to go into the details. Right. It's right. We all yell in my culture. It's part of me. That's how I was raised, right? And I'm like, I get it, that in your culture is like that. I get it, that you don't mean any, I had to say it at least 5 times, like, you don't mean any harm. I know you love me and so forth. And it worked. It's the only time, all the other times I was just yelling myself and never worked. This is the only time. It's very powerful. This stuff is really powerful. It's amazing, right? That when you turn to the person and decide that they are your protector rather than your enemy and draw that out of them, they will do anything for you. Right? Anything that you ask, right? If you're capable of speaking in the way that Esther spoke, right? And again, this applies to anything. You can do that with friends, with boss, with kids, right? This is not just a male-female thing, right? Okay. Now, before we go to the final redemption of the world, any other comments? Yes.
I think also she said to him, like, enabled him to open up his eyes and see who they was.
Yeah.
And
in a way who he was,
and
right?
And also to him, so that he can make his own decision. He doesn't have to go search out all his advisors and discuss it. And
Yes, nice.
What should I do?
Yeah.
He's no longer doing that. Now he's a decisive person himself.
Yeah.
She liberates that in him.
Yeah, in a way, she becomes his advisor, right? And this is the essence of the sacred marriage that we've been talking about, right? When the man and the woman are in this balance, and when the man is capable of listening and the woman is capable of speaking, both are necessary. It's not enough to, right? You got to know how to speak, and the man got to know. As soon as you achieve that, you get into that moment of cosmic harmony, right? Remember, that's the result. Inanna and Dumutsi, once they are interwoven together, and she breathes the destiny into him, is when the whole cosmos is renewed, right? And that's exactly what happens. I'm coming. It's exactly what happens, right? The people are saved, everybody survives, all of a sudden death turns to life, right? And this is really, for me, it's not the king or Esther, is both, is the fact that the balance was found again between the male and the female rulers, right? Yes.
I just thought that. So Haman being there kind of forces him into the decisive position. When
Yes.
she tells him it's Haman, he can't be like, okay, hang on.
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
go
yeah,
talk With my advisors,
Let me
or
go
whatever,
talk to
he's like,
Haman.
because he's right there, he has to sort of make a decision. Be like,
Yeah,
either I'm standing or I have to say something right now because it's right. in front of me."
exactly. Especially
He doesn't have
Haman.
to question even if he's running advisors.
And notice the king goes first on the balcony. He's so pissed. He's like, I can't look at this man right now. And then Haman makes the terrible mistake of coming at the feet of Esther, which then makes him look bad. And then is the last straw, right? When the king is a great, I mean, it's very funny, that last scene. It's very, anybody else? I saw a hand somewhere. No. Okay, so that's right. By the way, just to complete now, just to finish off on the Jewish rendition of the story of Marduk and Tiamat. Remember, I mentioned that this is the time of the year where Marduk, the forces of order, defeats Tiamat, the forces of chaos. And now we have a kind of inversion, right? This is Esther, the woman, Ishtar, who defeats Haman, right? The forces of death and destruction, right? That are coming from Haman. So it's a very similar the how should I put it? The plot is the same, right? But the characters have become adapted to the Jewish history, right? Rivera, you had a point to make.
Does it say specifically in like the Hebrew translation that he's at her feet? Like you could tie that with the prophecy and
Vision of the people.
no, in Genesis, God curses the snake, the serpent, saying that the descendants of Eve and Adam will
Crush his head.
Translation, I think, falls on the couch.
Oh, he
Yeah.
falls on her couch. Yeah.
It's like, no.
What does it mean he falls on her couch?
It's sexual.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like he falls on her,
Or
right?
it's interpreted
That's what
sexually
it
by
is.
Ahasuerus. That's why
Right.
he freaks out.
I
Okay.
think he like kneels and like grabs onto her robe.
He
and
grabs
kinda,
her,
like,
right?
Strips balls.
Poor man. You gotta get poor Haman. Somewhere I pity him at some point. I know, right?
Getting that close.
Yeah, honestly, even if you just touched it, all that
Poor
probably
man.
still be okay.
I think he stumbled, right? And I don't know, it's a strange moment. It's very, very well done. Okay, guys, so we survived this day. And we see each other one more time before the conference, right? For John, I will introduce the book of John. When is this test, this next test? After John, don't you owe me a test?
I owe you an essay.
Few of you owe me tests. I have few, let me check, let me turn off the
Very good,
recording.
yeah, it's almost.